Justice with Judge Mablean will be life, because in everything we do, it involves the law. You came to court to testify about what you heard, what you saw, and what you know.
She's fair.
I don't have a hearing problem. This ear works good. This one works even better.
She's firm.
I'm not responsible for that ticket, and I'm not going to pay for it.
Who says you're not going to pay for it? I'll make that decision, not you.
She's honest.
What you have to say?
All I have to
Nothing.
say.
This is Justice with Judge Mablean. Sally North is suing her mother-in-law, Doris Parker, in the amount of $10,000. Ms. North claims Ms. Parker made false accusations about her, which caused her emotional distress. Ms. Parker claims she felt she had to take the necessary precautions to protect the safety of her grandchild.
Thank you. You may be seated. In the matter of Sally North versus Doris Parker, I understand you all are related. And you, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, right? And you're accused suing her for emotional distress and for $10,000 because you said she unlawfully or lied about child abuse and reported some false accusations against you. Is that right?
Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
So tell me what happened.
So everything happened. I'm going to start from when I met Jonathan. Jonathan is my husband.
You got to go back that far?
It's really important for you to know certain details, so that's why I'm starting from there.
Okay.
I met Jonathan, and he had been dating this girl for 5 years, and Doris and her, they had a very good relationship. They were really close to each other, and she was really happy that Jonathan was dating this girl because she thought that this girl was perfect for him. But they broke up, they didn't get married, nor anything, and I met Jonathan. We were dating for 8 months, and after that we got married.
Oh.
And yes, and she never liked me. She thought that I was never good enough for him, and she would make comments about my family, because I'm not from here. I was brought up in a trailer in Mexico, and she would just make comments about if I ever watched television, or how was it for me to have a bed, or comments like that. And I would try to treat her as friendly as I could, but sometimes it was just really hard because of her comments.
Let's stop it so far. She right, mother? Mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law, yes. And she's incorrect about me never liking her. That is completely untrue.
Oh, were you happy about the fact that your son married her after 8 months and quit the other girl after 5 years?
I was upset, but it wasn't her fault. She's not a homewrecker. She wasn't the reason the relationship ended. Actually, I don't know why that relationship ended. I was upset that that relationship ended, but I knew that she wasn't a, quote, homewrecker. And there's nothing not to like about her. I just don't know her. I didn't know her well because it was 8 months and I had only met her a few times.
All right, back to you. So, but this is your perception that she doesn't like.
Yeah, this is my perception.
And she makes sly comments about you and your heritage and your background, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got that background. Let's go.
So, Jonathan and I, we were trying to have a baby for 3 years, and we couldn't. I actually lost 2 babies. And finally, I got pregnant, and I had Johnny Jr. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And when he was born, he was diagnosed with jaundice, which is a discoloration in the skin. But it's nothing that serious. Like, you just have to go to the pediatrician. He has to just check him, and that's it. You know, everything was fine. And for me, Johnny Jr. is a gift. It's a miracle. We were trying for a lot of time, and he's the most precious thing that I have in my life.
So how did we get to this $10,000? Let's go there.
So we get there because he was 4 months old, and one night I wanted to go with Jonathan to the movie, so Doris made me the favor that if I could go and drop Jonathan there with her so she could take care of him while I was at the movies with my husband.
So she babysat your child while you and your husband went to the movies?
Exactly.
Okay, let's go from there.
So after the movies, I see my phone, and I had some phone calls, and I didn't hear anything because it was in silence. And I was like, what's going on? She had called me like a lot of times, and I had some voicemails. So the first voicemail that I hear, it's from Child Protective Services.
Really?
And yeah. and they told me that my son was at the hospital, that they needed to see me as soon as possible, me and my husband, and that I wasn't going to be able to see my child because I was charged for child abuse.
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
What did they find wrong with him?
He had some marks on his right shoulder, and he had some bruises.
And what did they think it was from? You?
Yeah, they thought I was abusing him.
Justice with Judge Mablean. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Sally North, who is suing Doris Parker for emotional distress.
What did they find wrong with him?
He had some marks on his right shoulder, and he had some bruises.
And what did they think it was from? You?
Yeah, they thought I was abusing him. And he had 4 broken ribs. Yeah.
4 broken ribs at
Yeah.
4 months old?
4 months old.
Yeah, I could see why they would think somebody was abusing him. Let me turn to mother-in-law, because you're babysitting, and obviously you're the one that took the child to the hospital.
Correct.
So you answered all the questions that the doctors were asking at the moment. Is that right?
Yes,
So what
Your
happened?
Honor. So I had him, and usually he's really vivacious and bubbly, and he laughs a lot, and he's just a really happy baby, even with the jaundice, because that can be under control. And he was just crying a lot, and I thought, well, okay, I don't know what's going on here. He's just not a crier. He's a very happy baby. So I thought maybe his diaper is wet because he was already fed. So I was taking off his onesie, and he had these really strange marks on his shoulder, and it was a little alarming. And of course,
Did anybody taking the pictures of these strange marks?
at that second, no, because I was just trying to figure out what was going on.
I'm just talking about at any point. Is there any pictures of what was wrong with his body?
From the
Are there
hospital,
any
yes,
pictures?
that same night there were pictures.
Do you have them here? Yes or no?
No.
Simple question.
No.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So, and then he had some bruises right here, and then
Bruises around the stomach area?
yeah, like the rib area.
The rib area.
And then that alarmed me, and I thought, did I pick him up? Did I do that? And then I knew I didn't do any of that, and so I was really kind of scared. And then I thought, well, I better just call them. And I called her first, her phone, and there was no answer. And then I left a message. And then I called my son's phone, and he
In the
didn't
movies,
answer.
no answer.
Right, exactly.
Somebody turns their phone off in the movies, thank God.
I know, exactly. So, exactly. So I thought I'd better get this checked out. And he's crying a lot. So I was kind of mortified. And I thought, well, I know I didn't do anything.
Okay, I'm going to move you along because I
Okay.
don't need all,
Right.
every
So-
little single detail. I rode in the car, I rode in the ambulance, da-da-da-da. You took him to the hospital, somebody examined him, what happened?
The doctor, he was looking at me like, did you do something to this child? And, and he said, are you the guardian? I said, well, only every so often, like maybe once every 3 weeks. But the main guardian, of course, is my son and his wife. But my son's been out of town for 3 weeks, just got back. So the main guardian for the last 3 weeks has been his mom, my daughter-in-law. So he said it looked like they were bite marks. And then I was really freaking out. This was not good. And then he said his movement is strange, and he was concerned about the bruising, and he had to take x-rays.
Coming up,
They must have concluded that you didn't harm
I
him.
did not do it. Actually, this January I got my baby back, but for 6 months I wasn't able to work. I am a teacher. I work with kids, and how am I going to be able to work with kids if I was charged with child abuse?
Justice with Judge Mablean. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Sally North, who is suing Doris Parker for emotional distress.
Let's get to the bottom line because
Okay.
she's suing you, so apparently something happened.
Yes.
Okay, tell
Yes,
me what happened.
So he took the x-rays, and he said that there were 4 broken ribs. And then I was just in shock. And there's only 3 people in the picture who could have done this. I know I didn't. I know my son wouldn't. And not only that, he was out of town. And that
And you
leaves...
didn't know your son wouldn't. You just know that you didn't. That's the only thing you really
Correct. And then I know that the doctor said it was like a recent occurrence, so it couldn't have happened, 3 weeks ago.
Okay, you didn't want to blame your son. You didn't want to believe it was him. So she's the last to be believed that it's her. All right. So now you think it's her. They call Child Protective Services, put the child in custody. You go to the hospital. They arrest you. You had a trial?
Yeah.
What happened during the trial?
Well,
Let's get there.
I couldn't see my son for 6 months. I was...
Well, you did actually see him 6 times in the last 3 months.
Well,
yeah.
if I can continue with the story...
So here's what you can tell me, because I know how this scenario played out. The doctor is alarmed. There are tests, and there's pictures, and there are x-rays. It says broken ribs, marks on his body, appears to be bite marks, 4 broken ribs, 4 months old. He don't know what happened. They question you. They question her.
Exactly.
You're the caregiver. You get arrested. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, you go to court.
Yeah.
Now, somebody finds something out. Now what happened when you got to court?
Okay, now what happened? I knew...
And they put him in protective custody, kept you from him, or allowed you to see him only with someone watching you because they didn't want you to harm him again, right?
Exactly, yes.
And it took about 6 months for this whole process.
Yes.
Which is still a short time. You must not have been in California. Go.
Well, I knew that I didn't do it. I just wouldn't harm my child. I wouldn't do anything for it, like anything bad to him. I just knew it. So I started doing some research. And there's this disease that is called EDS, that it's a bone disease. And there's normally, this happens a lot of times, that you are charged with abuse, child abuse, and it's not. It's this disease. So I went with a lot of doctors. I asked for a lot of opinions, and finally I got to this expert. And he told me that actually I had this disease. So it's
You have it?
I have it, yeah.
And what is it like? What does it do? How does it manifest?
Okay, you can see bruises as my
You bruise
child
easily or something?
Yeah, it bruises easily. Also, there's like a, well, I don't want to give you the whole explanation, like the doctor explanation, but it's like a tissue that it's in the bones, and everything is very sensitive. So you have to be very careful. It happens. It's a very rare disease. It's a genetic disease. And for me, I have never seen anything nothing in my body that I could think about having a disease until this happened to Johnny.
So bottom line, what happened?
So the doctor, actually, I have it here.
Let me see that.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
I'm going to give you everything that I have.
Because now you want her to pay you $10,000, and I'm trying to see why you want her to pay you $10,000. So it must have been a result, or something must have said that you did not hurt. They must have concluded that you didn't harm him.
I did not do it. Actually, this January, I got my baby back. But for 6 months, I wasn't able to work. I am a teacher. I work with kids. And how am I going to be able to work with kids if I was charged with child abuse? I lost 6 months without seeing my child. Like, how am I going to get back that time?
But if the shoe were on the other foot...
Wait, I haven't finished. How am I going to get back when he was laughing? When all those months, I was just watching pictures. I couldn't see him. I couldn't touch him. I couldn't be with him. How am I going to get back those 6 months? Because she couldn't talk to me.
Just know that I'm sorry that happened to you, but if the shoe were on the other foot, you would have done the same thing. What was I supposed to think?
You being sorry doesn't change anything. You being sorry doesn't change that I couldn't see him for 6 months.
But if you were me, you would have done the same thing.
No,
what are you supposed to
I
do?
would have talked to you, but you never liked me. And that's why I feel it's so important. She never liked me from the beginning, and that's why she didn't talk to me.
Okay, so you think and you believe that your mother-in-law set you up?
I do not feel she set me up.
So what do you believe?
That things could have been different if she would at least, she could have talked to me.
How? She called you.
She did, but she didn't. Why didn't she wait? Like, why didn't she try to look for another solution?
How long is she supposed to wait?
Yeah. Because what if he was dying?
I'm asking the question.
Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
I don't need you to help me.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Coming up.
She explained what she observed. She tried to reach both parents. She did what a grandmother, a protective person would do.
You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Sally North, who is suing Doris Parker for emotional distress.
How long, in your opinion, would have been a reasonable time for her to wait?
Okay, yeah, I was at the movies. I totally understand that.
She called you. How many phone calls did you see? How many times did she try to reach you?
Like 10 times.
Okay, and your husband's phone, how many times?
The same.
Did you happen to tell her exactly what movie you were going to?
No.
What theater?
No.
So she couldn't even send anybody down to the theater to find you?
No.
And there are live theaters all over the city, right?
Yeah.
So had no idea where you were, right?
Yeah.
You're grown, you're married, you haven't been out in a long time, you got a babysitter, responsible, reliable grandma. You may decide after the movies to go out, have a bite to eat, right? You could have.
Yeah.
Did mother-in-law know what time you were coming home?
No.
Because you weren't in a hurry to come home because he was with grandma.
Exactly,
right?
Your Honor. Yeah.
So why do you think she acted unreasonably?
I feel that she just assumed that it was my fault.
That's right. That's because you're going on a feeling and not a reality. She explained what she observed. She tried to reach both parents, unable to do so. She did what a mother, a grandmother, a protective person would do. Let's go to the doctor, see what's going on.
And I totally understand that.
Okay.
I agree, and I feel
So
that...
she did nothing wrong?
No, just assuming that it was my fault.
No, she didn't assume it was yours. She may have, but she didn't arrest you. The facts are, who cares for this child?
I care, she cares, my husband cares.
Who cares for this child? So based upon the injuries to the child that were observed, based upon you're the primary caregiver, it was logical and reasonable to assume that it may have come from the mother. But what the police officers and Child Protective Services have to do is act in the best interest of the child. They don't have time to play this game of who did, who didn't, who done it, who likes, who doesn't like. They have to protect the interests of the child. So they put the child in child protective custody, which is standard operation, until you can have a hearing. At your hearing, it was resolved, I'm reading the doctor's report, that you found out that he had a rare disease, very rare, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which explains the broken ribs.
Exactly.
Conditions that result in fragile bones, bones break with normal care, even in the hospital. The bite marks were misdiagnosed. Initially, they appear to be from a rash caused by the infant's jaundice. After reviewing all the records, there was no child abuse, and the original diagnosis was dismissed, and your child was returned to you.
After 6 months.
Judge Mablean's verdict when Justice with Judge Mablean returns. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
But guess what? May have saved you by calling the police. May have saved your child by taking the child to the hospital. The child had gone with this disease undiagnosed. You had lived with this disease undiagnosed. Think about it. She really saved you a headache years down the line. It turned out to be something good for all of you. So to that extent, you should say thank you. Judgment for the defendant.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's case has been denied.
I lost out on 6 months without my child, and I'm never going to be able to get that back. But at least we got a diagnosis, so I guess I should thank you for that.
You're welcome.